YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back after NFL Week 9, recapping the games Thursday through Sunday, and a strange week in the NFL. Usually we get these types of weeks, early in the season, so it was an interesting week. A lot of surprises, a lot of upsets. We're going to break it down in this video. Before we get started, we have extra content on the Patreon. If you want extra score predictions, playoff predictions, and NFL mock drafts, all that updated every single week. Always changes in all of them. And the mock drafts, we constantly update the order prospects. So pretty cool. Patreon.com/GoatHouse. There's a link towards the top of the description in every video. And then we got the subscriber goal of 40K. Please help us get there before 2020. We'd appreciate it very much. Full NFL content, not just in season, in the offseason as well. Free agency, draft, videos every day. Please check out the Twitter. Let's go on to the recap. Yeah, Thursday, just mainly a Sunday recap video. I just want to quickly recap the Niners versus the Cardinals. Niners escaped this one. I thought the Cardinals played well enough to win, even though it felt like the Niners controlled most of this game. Real early, the Cardinals were outplaying them just for a little bit. But at the same time, it felt like the Cardinals did enough to win this game, the way they play. But the Niners they're a good team, plain and simple. Garoppolo played his best game. I think George Kittle probably played his best game. The rest of the team was a little sloppy here and there, mainly on defense. Quite a few penalties early on, a little sloppy. But that's what happens on Thursday night. That's just what happens. So the fact that they were able to still win, stay undefeated, which is hard to do. We've seen teams, especially in this week, slip up and not look themselves. That's why it's hard to do no matter who you play. Super impressive from the Niners. If all those guys, Jimmy G and the guys on the defense have been playing great all year, they can click, at the same time. Scary team. The Cardinals, people question Kingsbury a little bit. That last challenge, I'm not ripping them too much for it. I wouldn't have challenged it because the Niners probably would have went for it on fourth and inches or a yard anyways and got it. But I don't blame him too much because I didn't think he got the first, and if he didn't challenge it, he probably would have got ripped. I know he had a questionable timeout call at the end of the quarter earlier in the game, and but what I questioned at the time was that field goal decision with about 9 minutes to play. I'm like, you're not going to get a field goal and then score a touchdown, go for two, and then get another field goal. You're better off just going for two touchdowns. And I still kind of question it, but they made things interesting. The Cardinals played a good game. They got a bright future. The Niners, man, impressive to be the only undefeated team, so congrats to them. Let's see if they can keep rolling. Some tough games coming up. The first game on Sunday was the early game in London, Texans Jags. This one I thought would be a really close game. Texans missing J.J. Watt, Laramie Tunsil. The Jags had a good pass rush. It's in London. The Jags seem to be good in London. Second home, people call it. So I picked the Texans. I thought it would be a really good game, close game. It wasn't a close game. Weird things happen in London. I picked the Texans to win, but this was kind of weird how the outcome was. It really wasn't ever close, I guess, early in the game. The Texans just seemed like they're running the same thing over and over again. It was RPO, quick out to the tight end, and the Jags just could not figure it out. You got guys getting run over like crazy on defense, so they weren't there to play really on both sides of the ball. The Minshew mania has gone away. He has not been anywhere near where he was when he first came in. I think there's just more pressure. I kind of talked about that with other quarterbacks. There's just more pressure the longer you prepare, the longer you sit in these crucial games more and more. So I think that could be it. Sometimes the way he moves around the pocket, escapes sacks, looks great, but then sometimes he kind of steps into them, and sometimes he'll escape them still, but that's where his mistakes are. The Jags really couldn't get anything going. I will say I absolutely hated the Calais Campbell roughing the passer or helmet, whatever the hell they called. It's pure stupidity, but we're kind of used to it now. And that didn't really decide the game. What was great about the Texans was Carlos Hyde. I mean, if that guy can run for 160 yards, the Texans aren't going to lose. They're not going to lose. And I'm being dead serious. That's kind of the thing against the Texans. We've seen this some good teams they've played. They kind of plan to just stop the pass because that's what the Texans are good at, and they're not really afraid of the run. Not too many people are afraid of Carlos Hyde in that running game. But if he can go and do that, the next team up may be afraid of that run game. So that is the impressive part. That's my takeaway. It's a scary team if they can continue to run the ball. So we'll see what they can do here. Bills all over the Redskins. Yeah, not much to talk about this game. I thought Josh Allen did a good job, kind of just being that game manager, which that's all they need in this game. You didn't need him to go out and be a hero. So I think they did a good job there. Running game got going. Obviously, Devin Singletary, good to see him involved in both the run game, the pass game. John Brown their top receiver once again. I think the Redskins kind of, they kind of held Haskins back a little bit. I didn't know if that was they didn't, early on, they didn't let him kind of get outside his comfort zone, let him throw downfield. I don't know if that was because they didn't want him to start getting turnovers early, or if it was because the game plan was just kind of to win on defense and have him be a game manager, which I think it could have been that. I think they were going to let their defense, because it's been stepping up, kind of create turnovers in the Bills, which is possible. But they didn't game plan for the Bills game planning just to win on defense. That's exactly what the Bills did, just kind of be a lockdown defense, and that's what they did for the most part there. I thought from the Redskins, I thought Adrian Peterson played a real good game. Haskins still got a ways. This team still has a ways to go. But the Bills, much different. Like I said, they kind of took it easy on offense, just ran the clock, trusted their defense. A little different than going up against the Eagles. The Eagles, you have to score. So even though I know it's the team's nowhere near as good as a team like the Eagles, it's a totally different matchup. And they game plan pretty darn well for this game. So, and you see for a lot of these teams, it's so hard to, no matter who you play, just to keep winning. So you got to give credit to them for executing and having a good game plan. The Vikings and the Chiefs, strange game. As a Vikings fan, this is one of the most frustrating losses. I was going to say in the regular season, but after thinking about it, it was so frustrating. It might be one of the most frustrating losses, ever, really. Losing to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. I mean, we just plain simple got our ass beat, and it was just nothing. There's no reason to be annoyed or mad. It sucks, but plain and simple, you got your ass beat. This was like a totally opposite type of that game. There was just so many chances and so many things that went wrong that flipped the script there, and they could have definitely won the game. Before I complain about the Vikings, the Chiefs, I gotta credit the Chiefs in multiple different ways. Obviously, Matt Moore, a backup, stepping up, playing a great game. He was under pressure, too. He got hit quite a bit as he was making some ridiculous throws. To the receivers, Tyreek Hill played an insane game, some crazy catches. Not only I don't know how he caught that first touchdown, I don't know how he scored on it. Sammy Watkins had a one-hander. Kelsey did Kelsey. And I've been calling for them to use Damian Williams. And they use Damian Williams a little more, and he does his thing. It's just a matter of them giving him the ball more. I don't know if he really stepped up his game at all. It's just the same guy. I think he's capable of that. And then the defense. I mean, Chris Jones is a dominant player. This guy is a beast. He was excellent in this game. It's good to have him back on that Chiefs team. Dominant player. Absolutely dominant. Thielen went down. They did a good job of adjusting mid-game. That's hard to do because you have a set game plan. They adjusted. They put two guys on to Diggs. It seemed like it was Ward and Thornhill over the top of Diggs most of the game. Took that away, and it was kind of like, let's let Treadwell beat us. Treadwell played a pretty good game, but it was a good job on the defense. They stepped up. They stopped the run pretty darn well. Really no missed tackles, which, Dalvin Cook's really good at forcing. I didn't really see any, big-time missed tackles there, so that was a good job for them. The defense really stepped up. Great game plan. And then Harrison Butker, you got to credit him. Those kicks he made, clutch. But to the Vikings, why this is so frustrating, it's, for a lot of reasons. Just the end of the game, what I'm thinking is that missed extra point by Dan Bailey. And that's the first one he missed this year. Actually, second, but the other one had a 15-yard penalty, which made it more of a long field goal. So really, the first missed extra point. And then what I was thinking about at that point where it's 23-20 Vikings when if he hits the extra point, it would be 24-20. They strip sack Matt Moore. Matt Moore's fortunate to fall on the ball. It's 4th and 27 with 2 minutes to play. If the extra point was made for the Vikings a little earlier, the Chiefs would be forced to go for it on 4th and 27. Who knows what would happen, but and that really should have been the game there. So he hits a 54-yarder. Again, credit to the kicker there, Butker. And that was just unfortunate there for them. For the Vikings, that they couldn't come away with that strip sack, and then they have a chance on offense. They kind of take the ball away from Cousins. They're running the ball, throwing some slip screens, a negative 7-yard slip screen to the tight end. It's a design play. Let your quarterback play. I thought Cousins played a fine game. He missed a couple throws barely early. With pressure in his face. I thought he played a fine game for what he had coming at him. Didn't agree with the play calling. Didn't agree with Zimmer's timeout management, but you can't really bash Zimmer too much because I still think the defense, the defense didn't play a good game. The corner plays pretty bad. That 91-yard run, a little fluky because the Vikings just don't let that happen. They're best in the NFL in terms of letting up explosive plays, 20 yards or more, and that happens. So I guess that happens. But Zimmer with his blitz packages were great. They got real good pressure on Matt Moore. He clutched up, made some throws. They had 2 crucial strip sacks late. They just could not get their hands on. That would have changed the game. That would have ended the game on top of the extra point, on top of the shanked punt. Colquitt being one of the best punters in the league. He shanks a 27-yard punt. Chiefs get great field position. Some questionable timeouts for the Vikings. I mean, there's a long list of, how many first downs did they have to get called back? I agreed with the calls for the most part, so I'm not bashing the refs. But it's just frustrating. It's so frustrating. Watch your team, get these first downs and move the ball, and then it gets called back like consistently. I think the Chiefs had some too, so it's just kind of just the game. It was just frustrating in general. So a lot of things just did not go their way. The one thing that did was, I guess, the fumble went by Mecole Hardman on the kick return, but there was just so many different ways the Vikings could have put this game away and won it. They couldn't do it. Against some backups. Again, I am just blown away by Chris Jones, how dominant he is. So that's kind of the storyline of that game. To me, my preseason prediction was the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and I was starting to doubt that a little bit because of injuries. But, if this team is fully 100% healthy, I still think it's the best team in football because defense is going to continue to get better. It's a different defense with Chris Jones, which we saw. That's a tough loss for the Vikings. The Jets and the Dolphins. The Jets. I don't know how they beat the Cowboys a couple weeks ago. I guess the NFL is weird. Poorly coached team, and then not enough talent on the team. It's crazy that a lot of people had the Jets making the playoffs. I thought that was crazy then, and it's even more crazy now. Bold prediction, I guess. And Darnold, he was my 5th ranked quarterback in that draft class. And I'm standing by that. I got ripped for that. I got ripped for not really trusting him in the offseason. I got ripped for saying the Gase hiring was terrible. And I'm standing by it. And it looks pretty good right now. Darnold, the reason I didn't like Darnold is he always made questionable turnovers that cost the team. He always did it at USC. And usually that doesn't go away. It doesn't completely disappear. People acted like that was going to disappear. He can get better. I'm not doubting that. But that's really not going to disappear. He's not the answer, I don't think, and it's really early to say that, but I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty darn confident. I know the offensive line needs to get better, coaching needs to get better. It's a mess over there. Especially losing to the Dolphins. The Dolphins went out and executed pretty well. Fitzpatrick made some good throws. The defense stepped up where they needed to. Who knew that this would actually be a tank bowl type game here? So the Jets go towards the bottom of the league. We'll see where they go in the power rankings. The Dolphins moved up to 31 last week, so I thought the Bengals were just the worst team in football. We'll see if they move up again. They should with that win, so that's interesting. The Bears and the Eagles, 14-22 Eagles. The Bears had a little bit of a comeback at the end, but the start was what did it. They started off so poor. At halftime they had less than 10 yards in offense or less than 12 yards in offense total. A little ridiculous. I thought the Bears defense clutched up in the red zone. The Eagles were moving the ball pretty easy on them. That was unfortunate for the Bears defense. That's where it doesn't look the same, but they clutched up and forced the Eagles to kick field goals. Eagles gotta convert those. They gotta step up and get the ball in the end zone. They kind of cooled off, let the Bears come back. I thought Wentz, he didn't play a bad game at all, but I thought he missed some throws he should make. He definitely should make. I thought some interesting decisions. He kind of goes for the big play too much. I think he needs to just calm down, take it easy, go for the high percentage throw on the crucial downs, 3rd down if they're going for it on 4th down. This is kind of what I see there. The running backs were great. Once again, Jordan Howard was running angry against his former team, but it seems like he runs like that every week. It just seems like the Bears, shouldn't have traded him at this point, not just because of this game. Still don't agree with Nagy's offense. Trubisky's been awful, honestly, so I'm not trying to back him up at all. But, the offense isn't helping him at all, how it's run. But the offensive line hasn't been played too good, but I don't know I don't like the scheme. It looks like the offensive line scheme is way different than last year. They just have no intention of picking up blitzes at all. So I don't know. It's weird to see the Bears from last year to this year. I guess it starts with no improvement, I guess, at the quarterback position. The defense doesn't seem the same. I know Akeem Hicks going down. I can't tell you. Sometimes in the defense, we see things that didn't happen at all last year. I can't tell if it's kind of like effort, because it's a sad season. It's a disappointing season. Are they kind of giving up on some plays, or is it like Pagano's defense? Sometimes they're just not filling gaps. Trevathan, I thought, has had a pretty bad season. He's missing tackles like crazy, unlike last year. But it's not the defense's fault at the same time. It's the offense. Having that little yards in the first half is just ridiculous. And it's just unacceptable, really. The Eagles, they played a pretty good game. They clutched up when they needed to. I thought they could have put the ball in the end zone a little more there. They got to execute when they're going to play better teams. Next game is the Colts and the Steelers. thought the Colts were a lock for this game. Brissett goes down. That kind of changes things. The pick six from Hoyer to Minkah Fitzpatrick was really the game changer in this game. Colts missing a field goal. Vinatieri, unfortunate once again. That's also kind of the game changer, what decided the game. So it's unfortunate things for the Colts on top of, Brissett getting hurt too. I've been confident if he was in, they would have won this game. So it's very unfortunate. It's a tough loss. Credit to Steelers. Running the clock when they needed to, kind of milking it, getting down the field. Mason Rudolph, not making any crucial mistakes, really, just kind of just being that guy. Jalen Samuel stepped up. This guy's stepping up there, and the defense clutched up too. A lot of defensive, big time plays. I know, the Colts strip sack Mason Rudolph at one point. I guess that was somewhat of a crucial mistake, but I thought, the way he kind of worked the field most of the time and ran the clock down was good. Looked like a veteran, But yeah, it was an unfortunate one for the Colts. I think if Brissett's in, they win that game. So we'll see how he is. That one hurts. It's got to hurt if you're a Colts fan or just a football fan in general there. The Titans and the Panthers started off as a defensive game, kind of like I thought. I did not expect it to be this high scoring. I think the Titans' offense was really the reason for the high scoring game. I think their lack of offense early and turnovers. The Tannehill I've been kind of waiting for. Even though I didn't say this would be anywhere near this high scoring, I kind of thought Tannehill would this could happen. It could be coming here. And the Panthers defense, credit to them for causing this. I thought Shaq Thompson was everywhere. Eric Reed seemed like he was everywhere. Guys like that stepping up. No Mario Addison. They're getting some good pressure. So they kind of caused Tannehill to do this. They caused some turnovers early, which had good field position, and McCaffrey was dominant once again. If you watched our straight-up picks, Danny said something pretty funny that McCaffrey's not going to get stopped once. Kind of basically, he's not being serious, but basically he is, in a way saying McCaffrey's going to be dominant, and it just felt like he wasn't stopped once, which is hilarious. So, pretty dominant game. It says 10-point. You see the scoreline, 10-point difference. It felt like a bigger and a better win for the Panthers. So that was big time for them. McCaffrey controlled that, like that fake punt, even though it probably should have been stopped. After the Titans, I like the Titans defense, but every time, as the game went on, they were put in tougher situations. It just looked like they were getting worse, and they weren't playing that great. Kind of looks like what's happening in Chicago too. Very similar situation. Two very good defenses that aren't really looking themselves when the offense continues to struggle. Play calling, don't like it. Offensive line, don't like it for the Titans. Even Taylor Lewan, who I thought was one of the better tackles in football, not a good game from him. Credit to the Panthers' game plan. They stepped up in this game after a very tough loss last week there. Lions and Raiders didn't have the best week predicting, but this one I was pretty close to being spot on for here. Raiders win 31-24. It was kind of back and forth. Looked like the Lions got at an edge early, and then it was back and forth while the Raiders had the edge. Very entertaining game. I thought both quarterbacks played pretty darn well in this game. Derek Carr, if you look at the stats, he's probably had better games, but I thought this was his best game. Real smooth. Maybe the -1 thing I didn't like was he kind of took a sack, held on the ball too long, kind of stepped up. That was like the one thing, everything else, real good throws, real smooth, reading, going through his progressions. I think that was Derek Carr's best game. He had a heck of a game. And then just combining that, like if Derek Carr's capable of that, they got Tyrell Williams out there healthy, the guys they got, Renfro's getting going now, you see that. And then Josh Jacobs running super hard, looking like a real good back like we expected. Maybe a little earlier than we expected. It seems like in the offensive line playing the way they're doing. They got a legit tight end in Waller, and they got a couple of tight ends after that. It just seems like a legit offense. Like this is not just like little bit above average offense. No, it's better than that. Like it's a legitly good offense. Like, and it's very entertaining to see. He's got to be on. The Carr's got to be on his game more often. The defense, a little bit of a concern. Lions defense started off real good to start the year. Now it's kind of falling down while the offense is really getting going. Like you wish, I guess the Lions fans, probably what they're thinking, like, why can't we have both at the same time? Like, why? That's got to be pretty frustrating. Not a whole bunch of defense in this one. I think the play of the game really was on defense, though, with Darryl Worley making that pick. Wasn't a bad throw. It could be placed a little better. It's just a hell of a play by Worley there. And that really, even though it's an offensive game, that could have been the play of the game, the game-changing moment there. For the Raiders, I thought Galladay was pretty dominant. The Lions did enough on offense, especially for having, they don't have Kerryon Johnson. You don't expect them to have too much of a run game. It's still impressive. It's just unfortunate they can't come away with these wins. But to that last, the Lions have a chance at the end. I'm still mind blown by that Gruden timeout. The Lions looked kind of confused. They were going to get a playoff, but it was going to be, I don't know if everybody was going to be on the same page. They were still kind of discussing what play. Stafford was telling the receivers, everybody, what the play was. Clock's running down. They don't have any timeouts, and then Gruden kind of gave him a chance to. I mean, it worked out at the end, but that was bad. That was one of the worst timeouts I've ever seen. Like, you do not call a timeout there. At the end, it worked, so that's what people will say. But I couldn't believe. I was yelling at the TV. I'm not a fan of either team. I'm yelling at the TV, yelling at Gruden. Why the hell are you calling a timeout? So I got lucky at the end there that he got away with that. But I mean, they did enough to win the game. He had a good game plan on offense, but yeah, yikes. I don't know about that timeout. But the Raiders, they had a tough little stretch. They lost to some solid teams there, but they get one here. They get one. Another offensive game, and they get one. They could get rolling. It's a team you can't really sleep on. Next game, the Bucs and the Seahawks. It wasn't a great game. It was kind of a back and forth, but early the Bucs had the control. Just the game-changing play was Winston being Winston. I mean, he was having a good game, but we knew that was going to come. We knew that was going to happen. And I said this would be a good game. I actually predicted it a 1-point game. Obviously, it didn't end up that. But it went to overtime. I predicted the Seahawks winning by 1. I kind of said that the Bucs could make this thing interesting, but I'm just kind of worried about that one extra turnover that Winston can make, and that's what happened. And I think the Bucs win if Winston doesn't lose that ball on the throw. I still couldn't tell if anybody hit that or not. Hit his elbow, maybe skimmed it a little bit. And the Seahawks pick it up, end up getting points after that. Unfortunate, the Bucs had that game. It just feels like, they had the Titans game last week. It just feels like they could have had more games than this. It's unfortunate. They're going to have to go out and get a quarterback that doesn't make those turnovers that cost the game, and they got to get a running game going. And they add there. The secondary doesn't look good, but they've added some young pieces that will get better. So I think if they get just a quarterback that's not going to screw them over here. And even though Winston can play really good at times, I don't know if he's the answer, but they'll be a darn good team if they can get it together, if Arians can get it together. But yeah, good offensive game. Mike Evans was beasting 2 weeks in a row. Just some of the plays he was making, but that DK Metcalf on the other side had a dominant game. Hollister stepped up. Chris Carson stepped up. You got to credit the Bucs pass rush, even though there was a lot of offense. They were getting after Russell Wilson, making him. I mean, he was just making plays still. But you can see the Seahawks offensive line a little beat up and not the same it was maybe last year at the beginning of the year. But very exciting game. Russell Wilson showing why he's the MVP favorite right now. And he continues to do it. Very impressive. They got the Niners on Monday night. That should be a great one there. Browns and Broncos, just disappointing from the Browns. Extremely disappointing. Let me credit the Broncos where it's due for them. Brandon Allen stepping up. A lot of doubt. I doubted him, and he made some big plays. Cortland Sutton helping him out. That guy's just a straight beast. Really looking forward to watching his career. He's going to be a top tier receiver in my opinion. Phillip Lindsay ran pretty hard, broke that 130-yard run. I think the offensive line stepped up. Compared to other games this year. They didn't play phenomenal, but you know what I mean. And the defense, Derek Wolfe seems like he's getting back going to his old self the last few weeks. That's very impressive. And Justin Simmons showing that he's a pretty darn good young safety. He's been impressive this year. So yeah, they're just everyone flying the ball. It's almost like they're not losing the energy from the disappointing losses this season. So that was impressive to me. But to the Browns, yeah, just a lot of lack of effort, I think. You see the poor tackling. It just looks like guys are not really trying. They're slowing down. I just don't know if they really want to be there. It's like classic Browns. And you just see how the change from last year to this year. They're bad-mouthing, Greg Williams early in the year. It's just everyone's attitude is just way different. You get Odell in there, kind of brings that similar presence. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I just don't like where this team's at. It's a game they definitely should win. But I will say I think the refs kind of blew the game here at one point, and it really changed the game. The Browns had, well in the Broncos' territory, the Browns had a 4th and 1. They went for it. Baker snuck it up the middle. I thought he easily got the first down. They challenged it. Still didn't get the first down when I thought he easily got the first down. And then a couple plays later, Phillip Lindsay breaks a long run for a touchdown. The Browns did not play well enough to win this game. The Broncos outplayed them, but if they get that call right, the Browns can win this game. I think they do win the game, honestly. So it's kind of the example of this year. Definition of this year is the refs deciding some games more than the players, and that's kind of how I feel across the league. But you got to give the Broncos credit, like I already did. The Packers and the Chargers, one of the weird games of the week. I mean, who would have thought the Packers not only lose, but just a lack of offense. They just could not get anything going. I thought the Packers were going to win guaranteed, but I did talk about the only thing I can see going against them is seems like their offensive line really wasn't playing the same, compared to the last couple of weeks than compared to earlier in the season. It felt like the tackles were a little beat up. We've seen Bakhtiari 2 weeks ago get hurt, or was in the Chiefs game, kind of get hurt a little, but he was fine. He played the rest of the game, and Bulaga came out of the game, and it kind of showed in this game. I think they're just a little. They need that bye week to come up right now. I know they got the Panthers this week, but in Melvin Ingram, and you see why I like this guy. I've been talking this guy out for the last couple of years, talking about how this is one of maybe the most underrated player in the NFL. You look at his stats; he doesn't have insane stats, but he makes everyone better around him because he plays multiple different positions. I actually think Za'Darius Smith's like another Melvin Ingram. Upcoming guy like that. So really like both those guys. You see what the difference is with Ingram in there. Helps Joey Bosa, help all those guys. Ingram can line up on the edge opposite of Bosa. He'll line up right inside him. Super impressive. Defense clutched up. Looked like the DBs were flying around with the ball. Rodgers shorted a lot of underthrows, which was surprising. You get Devontae Adams back, and they can't do anything. It's weird. It's not Devontae Adams, obviously. He's a great receiver, but it's just weird. They just could not get anything going. Either the defense clutched up in the red zone. They were letting some big plays happen, outside that, but clutch up in the red zone, forcing the Chargers to kick a lot of field goals. That it could have been ugly if they didn't just clutch up in the red zone because the Chargers make those into touchdowns. It would have been over a lot earlier. But, Melvin Gordon finally got going. You like to see that. Mike Williams is getting going. Phillip Rivers he made some big plays on a whole bunch of them, for the most part, controlled the game. I like when they go for it to put the game away at the end, fourth down. That was Phillip Rivers making that call. That was him. We're going for it on fourth down. Love that. Packers, you could say this is one of those weeks where, it's just one of those weeks. And like I said, I think the tackles need a break. I think they need a little rest because that's kind of what I was thinking there. So I think that could be the reason, but I think deep down it's got to scare some people. Like, will this happen again for the Packers offense? Like, if this happens, they're going to struggle to win games. Like, could this happen again? I'm not really expecting it to, but I guess you never know. It's something to think about. But good game for the Chargers. Maybe they can turn things around. They got a big game this week as well. And the Patriots and the Ravens, the Sunday night game, supposed to be the game of the week. And it was a good game, but it was controlled by the Ravens here. A lot of fumbles in this game. I think the crucial one was the muff punt, and that kind of made things interesting if it wasn't for that. I know both teams fumbled. I know the Ravens fumbled again too. But that one kind of started it off, and it could have been a little easier win for the Ravens, but man, like I've been saying, I think you can run on the Patriots, and I think you can get a good pass rush, and that kind of showed up in this game. I just thought the Patriots secondary make that extra play. Lamar Jackson was phenomenal. Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards stepped up. This team's dangerous. You got to credit the offensive line of the Ravens does not get enough credit. They have a tough task. And this is very hard to block. There is not many offensive linemen in the league that can block on this offense. It's tougher than your typical offense. It's a lot harder. You don't have to block for as long, I guess. It's kind of quicker with, the read options, the RPO. Lamar Jackson will get by you pretty fast, but it's a tough task to keep these guys in front of you, making sure they don't, slide over and make that play. So the offensive line, definitely needs the credit. The defense, I've been the last year, I've been hyping up Martindale's defense. Best blitz packages in football. You see them with 6 DBs on the field, and all of a sudden you see them blitzing everybody in the perfect gaps, perfect situation. I love this Ravens team. I was getting hyped about them last year. Big Lamar Jackson supporter. He was my QB2 in that draft class. I'm regretting not putting him at 1. I still like Baker, even though it's been a rough season. But I love me some Lamar Jackson. I like the way they call the offense. I love the defense even more. It's going to get better and better. Like I've been saying before the year, maybe it'll start off a little slow. It's going to get better and better. Looks like that's what's happening. They don't have the big names at pass rush. Judon's somewhat of a big name for them, but they're getting going. It's a hell of a coach defense. Underrated, too. It's fun to watch. The different looks they give you and the lockdowns. Brady couldn't do too much because the offensive line for the Patriots ain't the same as it's the worst offensive line Brady's ever had. I think there's definitely worse offensive lines in football, but it's definitely the worst one he's ever had. You've seen Edelman with the crucial fumble, but the Ravens controlled this game. They controlled this game. I wish N'Keal Harry played for the Patriots. Hopefully we get to see him play. He was my receiver 1 in the draft. And I've been hitting on those receivers, really all the positions. Got to pat myself on the back. But I'm feeling pretty good about the recent draft prospects evaluations for myself. DK was my number 2 receiver. He's looking good, so I don't know how that guy went second round. But this Ravens team is scary. I said it last week, or 2 weeks ago, actually. My team, I don't want to. The last team I want to play is the Ravens. I don't want to play the Ravens. I don't want to deal with them, And I've been talking about since Lamar Jackson came in the league, how do you game plan against this team? Like, how do you game plan against it? And you see other people starting to say it now too. It's just I just don't understand. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want that to be my job. Scary team, and they're not just one sided. That's what I like about them. It's a different situation in the playoffs. Can they execute this game in the playoffs if they get there, when they get there? That's a different story. We're still a ways away, but man, team's fun right now. It's real fun. Patriots. People ripping them because it's the first good team they played. I guess they deserve a little ripping, but they don't make their own schedule. But yeah, maybe it's a little. I'm not really concerned if they go up against necessarily a good team. I'm concerned if they go up against a good running team and a good pass rush team. That's what I'm concerned about. So I knew that matchup too, and I'm disappointed in myself picking the Patriots because I said that beforehand. I'm worried about. The Patriots, how they handle pass rush. And I knew the Ravens blitz better than anybody. The Ravens and the Vikings are those blitz teams. And I knew you can run on the Patriots. And what do the Ravens do best? They run the ball. And I'm usually the guy that picks games purely off matchup. I let myself down there. I'm disappointed in myself. So great game, though. Love the way the Ravens are playing. That's not the team I root for, but it's a team I'm catching myself rooting for. If my team ain't going to win a Super Bowl, let's go Ravens, Really like that team. Very entertaining. And that's going to do it for this one. We're back every single week with this recap video, so hopefully you can join us. Power rankings coming tomorrow. Going to be interesting, especially with those Ravens and those Patriots, those Niners, those Saints. Where are they going to be? A lot of good teams lost too, so where those teams are going to drop to going to be interesting. Hopefully you can join us for that. We got straight up picks coming on Tuesday nights. We got score predictions on Wednesday. We got more predictions on the Patreon. All kinds of videos here all year long, not just season long. So please subscribe. Join us for those videos. Check out the ones already on the channel. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.